From the Hulk's insatiable hunger to Doctor Strange's twisted magic, these undead superheroes are a force to be reckoned with. Ant-Man. Nothing can stop him, which would make this a little controversial. Ant-Man becomes a terrifying threat as a zombie. His ability to shrink to microscopic size allows him to infiltrate any location. Spreading the zombie virus undetected, he can control swarms of microscopic zombie insects, overwhelming his victims. With his intelligence and technological prowess, Ant-Man poses a unique and insidious threat, capable of bringing about the downfall of civilizations. Zombie Doctor Strange. Dream manipulation.
Trust your power. That's how we stop her.
As the Sorcerer Supreme, Doctor Strange has mastery over dreams. As a zombie, he could manipulate the dreams of others, turning them into nightmares and nightmares into reality. Also, he has necromantic mastery. He could command the zombies, raising armies of undead minions to do his bidding. While Doctor Strange has demonstrated a wide array of magical abilities, including astral projection, reality warping, and time manipulation, cloning himself isn't one of them. In the vast expanse of Marvel Comics, particularly in Strange Tales #123, there's no record of Doctor Strange creating exact duplicates of himself. However, the Sorcerer Supreme has used illusions to create deceptive copies of himself. These illusions, while convincing, are not true clones with independent consciousness and physical form. They are merely projections of his energy, designed to confuse or distract opponents. Next up, the Scarlet Witch. As a zombie, her chaotic magic is unleashed, unchecked by morality or empathy. Scarlet Witch has reality alteration on a quantum level. She can not only alter reality on a macroscopic scale, but can also manipulate reality at the quantum level, affecting the fundamental fabric of the universe. Scarlet Witch, reality forging makes her totally unstoppable. Reality forging. Scarlet Witch's reality warping abilities extend far beyond simple alterations. She can create entire pocket universes, complete with their own laws of physics, inhabitants, and histories. These realities can be as vast and complex as the main Marvel universe, or as simple and contained as a single room. She can populate these realities with beings of her own creation, or import existing characters and entities into her new worlds. She can also manipulate the fundamental forces of these universes, altering gravity, time, and space. This power, if wielded carelessly, could lead to the creation of terrifying and destructive reality. Now we have the Sentry, known as Marvel's equivalent to Superman.
We were waiting. And he's ready.
Most would say he could easily defeat Superman. As a zombie, the Sentry's molecular manipulation powers would be powered up to terrifying levels. He could manipulate matter and energy on a fundamental level, altering the fabric of reality itself. His control over molecules would allow him to disintegrate matter, reconstruct it, and even manipulate the flow of time. The combination of his cosmic power and zombie hunger would make him a force of chaos, capable of unleashing unimaginable destruction. From the Sentry to Thanos, the Mad Titan, couple this guy with the Infinity Gauntlet, and you have the most powerful being in the multiverse. His cosmic power, coupled with his strategic mind, makes him a formidable threat. As a zombie, his hunger for power and domination is amplified, driving him to spread the zombie plague across the cosmos. Who thought it would be a good idea to give a zombie the powers of the Infinity Stone? His strongest power has to be reality warping on a cosmic scale. A zombie with the Infinity Stones could warp reality to their will, creating or destroying entire universes. America's hero is up next, Captain America. His peak human condition, enhanced by the super soldier serum, is amplified by his undead hunger. With his tactical genius and combat skills, he's a deadly force, able to outmaneuver and overpower any opponent. His relentless pursuit of living flesh makes him a terrifying predator, capable of turning entire cities into zombie hordes. Now imagine him with Thor's hammer, the God Destroyer. The combination of Steve Rogers' peak human abilities, amplified by the zombie virus, and the immense power of Thor's hammer hammer would create an unstoppable force of destruction. With Mjolnir, he could unleash lightning strikes, manipulate the weather, and even control the minds of others. The zombie Captain America wielding Mjolnir would be a terrifying force, capable of leveling entire cities and decimating entire armies. Iron Man is next up on our list. His most underrated power, hologram decoys. Imagine Iron Man armed with advanced technology and the ability to create holographic decoys wreaks havoc. These decoys, indistinguishable from the real thing, could spread chaos and confusion, while the real Iron Man lurks in the shadows ready to strike. The potential for widespread destruction and the erosion of trust would be immense. A zombie Iron Man, with his holographic decoys, could paralyze entire cities, sow discord, and ultimately accelerate the spread of the zombie virus. Clawing his way on this list is Wolverine. The immortal mutant is a terrifying force of nature as a zombie. His regenerative abilities, combined with his adamantium skeleton, make him virtually indestructible. His feral instincts and heightened senses make him a deadly predator, able to track and kill his prey with ruthless efficiency. With his claws and enhanced strength, he's a force of destruction, capable of tearing through anything in his path. Now we have Quicksilver, the fastest man alive, becomes a terrifying force of nature as a zombie. His superhuman speed, amplified by his undead state, makes him virtually untouchable. He can spread the zombie virus with incredible speed, turning cities into breeding grounds for the undead. With his enhanced senses and relentless pursuit of living flesh, he's a terrifying predator, able to strike without warning. Next is the big green guy, Incredible Hulk. The Hulk just sees red when he's in his full Hulk state, but now couple that with an appetite that just doesn't stop. The zombie Hulk is a force of nature, virtually unstoppable due to his immense strength, durability, and regenerative abilities. His insatiable hunger fuels his rage, making him a relentless force of destruction. Devoid of fear and pain, he charges into battle with reckless abandon. His combination of raw power and zombie resilience makes him a nearly invincible threat, capable of leveling entire cities. Hulk also has regeneration. He can heal from almost any injury, even fatal wounds. The Hulk's regenerative abilities are almost limitless. He can heal from the most grievous wounds, even if his body is torn apart. Whether it's a bullet wound, a broken bone, or even having limbs severed, the Hulk can rapidly regenerate lost tissue. His healing factor is so potent that he's even survived being disintegrated and rebuilt himself from scattered atoms. Now we have Zombie Thor. Beyond his godly strength and mastery of lightning, Thor is a skilled sorcerer. He can cast powerful spells, summoning storms, manipulating energy, and even delving into mystical realms. His knowledge of ancient Asgardian magic allows him to perform a wide range of magical feats, from simple illusions to complex enchantments. A zombie Ghost Rider would be a horrifying amalgamation of demonic power and undead hunger. His Hellfire Chain would be a weapon of both destruction and damnation, capable of scorching the earth and dragging souls to the underworld. His Penance Stare, a gaze that forces victims to relive their sins, would be even more terrifying as a zombie, as his undead nature would amplify its power. With his demonic strength and relentless pursuit of living souls, a zombie Ghost Rider would be a truly terrifying force of evil.
Number 10. She-Hulk. She-Hulk becomes infected after responding to an Avengers Assemble call. She makes the bottom spot due to her smarts as a zombie. What can I say? I'm a sucker for a brilliant yet gruesome zombie. She uses her knowledge of the Baxter building to sneak in and devour Valeria and Franklin Richards, whom Sue and Reed hid there thinking that they would be safe. I guess the FF never thought any of their former members would turn against them or become zombies. Change your passwords frequently, friends. This is why. Also, zombie She-Hulk took out Franklin Richards? That is impressive. I mean, it's really gross and sad, but still impressive. Franklin Richards is so OP. Little Frankie. Number 9. Dazzler. So I know that Dazzler seems like a random zombie for me to include on this list, but just hear me out for a minute. I wanted to include her because she ends up being part of Ash's crew during the Marvel Zombies vs. Army of Darkness. Besides that, she is also able to unveil the Enchantress's disguise, as she was infected but using her powers to mask her zombie-like appearance. How does Dazzler do this? Well, by using her light powers. Unfortunately though, Dazzler ends up sadly underused, as Enchantress bites off her finger and Doctor Doom appears to vaporize the both of them. Poor Allison. At least she got more than just a background cameo in a single panel like some heroes do in the Marvel Zombieverse, like Iron Fist, and there's a lot of them. that are just basically doing nothing. Number 8. Colonel America. That's right, this version of Captain America is ranked as a colonel, not a captain. Oh, and he was also president for a bit, before he was a zombie obviously. He was turned fairly early when it comes to the Marvel Zombies timeline, after responding to a report of Sentry attacking people downtown. This turned out to be the infected Sentry of Earth 91126, who was kind of stuck in a zombie virus time loop. I know, the Marvel Zombieverse is more complex than you'd think. This version of Steve is defeated by Red Skull by having his brain scooped out, but later he returns as the virus preserved his brain somewhat, and it ends up being transplanted into T'Challa's deceased son, T'Challa, much later. Unfortunately, it was somewhat damaged, and so while Steve survives somewhat longer than most, he is reduced to a rage-fueled zombie who can only focus on battle while he's in T'Challa's body. I know, the Marvel zombie virus is so beautifully weird. 7. Black Panther. Black Panther survives for a long time in the Marvel Zombieverse relative to everybody else, and only ends up being transformed in order to actually save his life. He ends up with the zombie head of Janet Van Dyne after escaping Hank Pym, who had kidnapped him and was kind of eating him. We'll talk about that later. Later, he attempts to rebuild New York as New Wakanda with those that survived the zombie apocalypse. He even gets married to Lisa Hendricks and has a son with her named T'Challa. However, as time progresses, the new acolytes become frustrated with T'Challa's lack of progress and plan to assassinate and usurp him. They almost succeed, but Janet manages to save him while in a cybernetic body by biting him and transforming him into a zombie. Janet herself was actually cured of her hunger a while ago after simply refusing to give into it, but T'Challa's transformation causes a relapse in her hunger, and her and T'Challa end up having to be quarantined during their withdrawal period. But then they get over it and then they're good zombies again. Yay, good zombies. Number 6. Spider-Man. Even as a zombie, Spider-Man becomes a hero. I know, amazing. Spider-Man felt a lot of guilt after succumbing to the virus. He ate MJ and likely ate Aunt May. As one of the power cosmic zombies, he traveled the universe eating everything in sight until one day, soon after devouring Ego the Living Planet, he realized he was no longer really hungry anymore. He and the rest of the power cosmic zombie crew decided to return to Earth to retrieve Mr. Fantastic's dimensional portal, which would allow them to travel to an alternate Earth so that they could continue to feed. However, upon returning to Earth, they realized that civilization had been rebuilt, known as New Wakanda under the guidance of zombie leader Black Panther. Not wanting to repeat his past mistakes and still feeling like fairly full, Spidey refused to devour anyone on Earth and actually attacked Giant Man when he suggested they create a forced breeding program on Earth to guarantee an endless supply of food. Rude. Rude, zombie Giant Man. Don't, Hank Pym. Bad. Number 5. Sentry. Okay, so Robert Reynolds is just so bizarre in the Marvel Zombieverse that I had to mention him, even though he's not really a zombie. He kinda ends up hiding out on Asteroid M while the contagion rages on, and later spends 40 years working on a cure when he was brought the disembodied zombie head of Janet Van Dyne. During his time working on a cure, it turns out that he had fallen in love with zombie Janet, and the two even end up kissing in the comics, which aside from grossing everyone out, surprisingly does not transform the Sentry into a zombie. So obviously you can't be turned through saliva in this world. After Janet's death, Robert gives himself up to Zombie Hulk to be devoured, knowing that satiating his former friend's hunger will help to calm him down and allow him to transform back into Bruce Banner. Even in this weird, messed up universe, these two strong guys are still pretty adorable together. Zombie Hulk and just Sentry, who's kinda old. After turning back to Banner, Bruce gives up his life. To be clear, this is Sentry of Earth 2149 of the Marvel Zombieverse, not that of Sentry 91126, who is the infected version of Sentry you see in Marvel Zombies Return. That zombie Sentry. This is Marvel Zombieverse Sentry. Does that make sense? Number 4. Hulk. The Hulk lasts for quite a while as a zombie. Unsurprisingly, I'm sure, as he is so strong. Still, the Marvel Zombieverse still manages to have a ton of undead casualties, so his survival is impressive. Hulk became one of the zombie squad that devoured the Silver Surfer and got the Power Cosmic. Along with the other Power Cosmic zombies, he travels to the Skrull home planet, where he and his friends manage to eat just about everyone on the planet and zombify a giant bug. Good job, guys. My favorite thing about the zombie Hulk, though, is how sad he is when he is hungry. He just wants to eat all the time, and he always seems to consider himself the most hungry of the group, despite the fact that everyone reminds him, hey, you know, Hulk, we're hungry too, so calm down. Number 3. Deadpool. He originally adopted the name Merc with half a mouth and appears in Marvel Zombies Volume 3, where he ends up making his way to Earth 616. Although originally thought dead after getting blended up by what appears to be the exposed blades on the back of a hovercraft. However, zombie Wade Wilson wasn't quite dead yet. Just his head survived, and it was taken into custody by Armor, now known as Deadpool and labeled as Patient Zero. But don't worry though, Deadpool's zombie head escaped and got in all sorts of wacky adventures, as any version of Deadpool is warranted to do. Though another alternate version of Deadpool killed Headpool in the end. A fitting end for the disembodied zombie head. I mean, if you gotta go out, let it be by another Deadpool, am I right? Number 2, Mr. Fantastic. After his children were devoured and zombie She-Hulk was killed, Reed Richards worked on finding a cure for the virus, but of course instead got all obsessed and mad scientisty, believing that the infection was actually a stage of evolution. Sue of course strongly disagreed with her husband, but Reed, being Reed, ignored his wife and decided that he knew what was best for himself and the rest of the Fantastic Four as well as humanity, and thought that they should all evolve, involuntarily turning the rest of the FF into zombies by giving them each a tiny open wound that allowed them to contract the virus. As such, Reed was behind creating the most dangerous team of zombie supers. He also enjoyed getting eaten and turned by his zombified teammates way too much. So creepy. He's like so into it in the panel. Number 1, Giant Man. Hank is probably the worst and best alternate superhero in the Marvel Zombieverse. Not only is he one of the 7 Power Cosmic zombies who successfully got the Power Cosmic after devouring the Silver Surfer, he also managed to keep a tasty secret all to himself for a while. He actually realized what was happening before he was fully transformed, after Janet Van Dyne, his wife the Wasp, infected him. As such, he managed to lure Black Panther back to his lab. Well, kinda knocked him out too, but anyways. He kept the restrained Black Panther a secret, and slowly fed off of him by sawing off his limbs while keeping T'Challa alive. Yeah, creepy. Though Janet eventually found out, resulting in Hank having to kill her. This is one of the nastiest things I have ever seen in the Marvel Zombieverse, which is why I believe Giant Man deserves the top spot. You can check out this grossness for yourself in Marvel Zombies Volume 1, Issue 2, Ick. Also, you're welcome.
Coming in number 10, we've got Wasp. Janet Van Dyne, synonymous with stinging insects across the world. She's also known for infecting important individuals and wreaking plenty of havoc. We're not really sure how or when she got infected, but that doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. On Earth 2149, the zombie plague spread quickly, and she had a lot to do with it. Hero zombification doesn't turn the supers into shambling, brainless creatures like so many other apocalypses do. It instills them with a thirst for blood, a hunger for flesh, and the ability to create even more zombies. So of course, Wasp went to find her husband, Henry Pym, aka Giant Man. We'll come back to that in a bit. After infecting Pym, they got right down to business. She called a false Avengers assemble and picked off the folks who ended up showing up, eventually discovering that Pym was hiding T'Challa from her. Overcome by zombie hunger, she attacked Pym but was decapitated. Still alive, mind you, but without a body to call her own. So for a while, Wasp remained just a head, traveling through the universe in what can simply be called a jar. Eventually, she managed to procure a cybernetic body for her zombie dome. Absolutely wild. Coming in number 9, we've got Red Skull. A big part of one of the zombie stories was the fight against, and then upon, Galactus. Like, usually his appearance would be an enormous one, with all sorts of supers having to put it all on the line to put an end to his plans. In Zombies though, Galactus falls to the undead heroes and villains rather quickly. Using a crazy gun that shot beams of pure concentrated energy, Galactus was cut down promptly. This wasn't the end of it though, as hero and villain zombies descended upon the enormous corpse to feed. These two groups fought it out to earn the meal, which brought Captain, or Colonel in this case, America and Red Skull face to face. Enemies even in the undead afterlife, eh? Usually one would expect the patriotic pummeler to win this kind of fight, but in Zombies, Red Skull scoops out his foe's brain. That's it for America. Coming in number 8, we've got Wolverine. After fighting the good fight when the zombies showed up, eventually Wolverine fell and got turned into a zombie himself. Ouch. Keeping all of his classic powers but earning a brand new hunger, he's a force to be reckoned with. He plows through countless deadites with ease and then scares the Necronomicon until it begs not to be eaten. Wolverine doesn't eat books, but he does use them for TP. Oh boy. That's just the beginning of Wolverine's zombified adventure though. He sniffs out a bunch of survivors and brings a bunch of zombies together to fight Magneto. Interestingly enough, he tries to fight Silver Surfer after this, but his necrotized flesh can't hold his claws when he strikes. This doesn't make him useless though, as he still is able to literally toss Iron Man into the fight. In fact, Wolverine is still powerful enough as an undead corpse to kill Juggernaut, among other classic characters. Then he and some other zombies head to space, thinking they've already eaten all of the unsullied flesh on Earth. Coming in number 7, we've got Reed Richards. This is a universe-spanning tale of tragedy if there ever has been one. Poor Reed. He watched his children get annihilated by zombie She-Hulk and lost his mind completely. Even before he's zombified, he dives deep down the zombie rabbit hole, learning about how they function, how efficient they can be, and more. This disturbs those around him, who are shocked at how interested he is in the creatures that kill his family. In the end, he infects the remaining members of the Fantastic Four without their knowledge, and they all turn right in front of him. Then they turn him, and the zombie Fantastic Four is ready to roll. Imagine having the power to keep people alive, but instead using the research to turn your friends into zombies. The people who trusted you. Insane. Worse still, the zombie foursome finds Tony Stark and turn him into a zombie before he can get his suit on, and that opens up a whole new can of worms. Coming in number 6, we've got Captain Marvel. Carol Danvers. As if she couldn't stir up enough controversy by starring in her own movie a few years back, we've also got her piloting a long-dead Galactus towards Earth in Zombies Respawn. Folks know she's bad news as soon as they see her, as an unzombified Wolverine tells his whole squad to fall back. Too late though, as she is ready to bring the zombie apocalypse to Earth once more. All of her powers are essentially the same as they've ever been, but her mission has changed. Consume the planet many had assumed she swore to protect. Bad news all around for sure. Coming in number 5, we've got Mystique. Now this is some next level zombie intelligence right here. Mystique is known for using her shape-shifting abilities to mess things up across the board for sure, but what about when she essentially ends the world with one simple trick? Doctors hate her, that's for sure. She takes on the form of Scarlet Witch, chills with Wanda's brother Quicksilver, and turns the speedster into a zombie. Then Quicksilver decides it's a fine idea to zip all over the world at max speed, turning every other available person. That is beyond the butterfly effect. That's like the butterfly sanctuary full of freshly metamorphosed creatures effect. Coming in number 4, we've got Quicksilver. Like I just explained, this super fast freak gets turned and makes the zombie infection a global pandemic before anybody can do anything about it. You think we've witnessed the quick spread of a virus recently? Think again. Sure, planes, trains, and automobiles will eventually get the job done, but Pietro here makes it happen in seconds flat. That's gotta be a record or something. So in terms of people with the highest rate of turning others into zombies, it seems that Quicksilver ran away with the competition. Easy peasy, right? Coming in number 3, we've got Hank Pym. We mentioned him earlier in the list when discussing the deeds of his wife, but Giant Man got up to some heinous stuff while operating as a zombie. The zombies are so good at eating and infecting that they soon ruin their food supply. Some suggest exploring the universe to find other new sources of nourishment, others claim that they should be able to eat each other. That second idea falls on its face though when zombies realize that zombie meat tastes bad. However, there are plenty of fine, enterprising minds in the Marvel universe. Hank Pym is just one of those geniuses, and he comes up with a plan. Breeding and cloning humans to come up with an infinite supply of food. How wonderful. Just like factory farms, but for people. I can only imagine what kind of awful, cruel things would happen in such a facility, but here we are. It never really works out, thankfully, but still. Pym also captures and restrains T'Challa at one point, saving him for when he gets really hungry. He won't turn if all Pym does is hack off a limb or two. Coming in number 2, we've got Spider-Man. Here's a hard one to handle. Peter Parker turning into a zombie and giving up on all of the goodness in his heart. Sheesh. A lot of folks were really freaked out by the actions Spider-Man took once zombified. Like, eating the flesh of fellow heroes is a tough start, but Peter even went home and feasted on Mary Jane and Aunt May. Not cool, Peter. After one hell of a feeding frenzy on Earth, Spidey and a bunch of other heroes take to the stars, looking for more flesh to consume. This eventually results in them eating most of the food in the known universe. Is a New York slice not enough anymore? Absolutely gutted at what he's done, Spider-Man isn't exactly sure what to do. He's out here shooting webs made of veins and arteries, hungering after an infinite source of food that no longer exists. Even when he's fired into a new universe, he can't control himself. After all he's learned, that zombie virus just takes over. Sheesh. And finally at number 1, we've got the Hulk. Bruce Banner and his big green pal tend to be pretty scary on a regular day, but when zombie viruses show up, things can get really raunchy. Usually Banner finds a way to reel in his alter ego and remain pretty affable, but not Zombie Hulk. He is a crazed, destructive lunatic with nothing to lose. He'll kill and eat and kill and eat and kill and eat until there is nothing left, which is exactly what he does. The zombification does nothing to rob him of his strength either. Hell, when Thanos accuses him of being the reason every zombie is so ticked off and hungry in deep space, Zombie Hulk just destroys his head. Insane. I didn't even mention what he did to Silver Surfer's head.
In at number 10, Luke Cage. Not too much is known about what Luke Cage was up to before the zombie apocalypse struck the planet. He was, however, in the Avengers mansion when the Ash burst through the front doors as he ranted about an army of the dead. The Avengers were responding to reports of the Sentry attacking citizens in the downtown core, and when the team arrived, they were quickly overpowered. Cage was then bitten, becoming infected with the zombie contagion, thus turning as well on the general population. In at number 9, the Hulk. It's still unclear about the exact moment that Bruce Banner became infected with the zombie plague, but what we do know is that he was working with Nick Fury aboard the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier. It's possible that the moment took place when Mr. Fantastic infected the Fantastic Four, resulting in a rampage through the ship. This is a pivotal moment that would have infected the entire helicarrier. Now in his zombie Hulk form, he went on to commit heinous acts which included eating the Silver Surfer and Galactus. In at number 8, Wolverine. Also known as James Howlett, at the time of his zombification, he was at the Xavier Institute where he and the X-Men were battling against the Alpha Fight zombies when Magneto of all people showed up to help. Along with Magneto, they fled the area to join the resistance with Nick Fury against this new worldly threat by the Undead. Nick told them that it was the end of the world and that everyone that wasn't a zombie is now on the same side, regardless of their history. Wolverine though became part of the ground operation team and tried to tackle the zombie threat head on, but was bitten in action after being overwhelmed. In at number 7, Fantastic Four. This one is a messy one for sure. While the Fantastic Four were out and about doing their thing to fight the good fight against the zombies, they come back after a hard day's work to find a zombified She-Hulk eating Sue and Reed's children. Sue was so angry that she straight up blew off She-Hulk's head with her force field, utterly shocking the team. While the surface team is going back to war, the Fantastic Four stayed back on S.H.I.E.L.D.'s helicarrier and the team became infected with the contagion while Reed Richards was working on the remains of a zombie. He became so fascinated by the virtues of zombification, and as he was explaining it to the team, he pricked their skin, infecting them without their knowledge. The rest of the Fantastic Four then turned into zombies, biting Reed while he laughed for some reason. Talk about sicko mode. In at number 6, Captain America. Well, Colonel America. He too was at the Avengers mansion when the Ash burst in talking about the army of the dead. Landing on the site of where Purple Lightning and Sentry were attacking citizens, he too was quickly overpowered by the horde, becoming infected and turning into a zombie. When he then turned on the citizens, Spider-Man swept in to rescue a woman, but before they could get away, Colonel America leaped into the air and bit Peter on the shoulder, turning him as well. In at number 5, Black Panther. While T'Challa was helping Giant Man back to his lab, he noticed that Dr. Pym had been bitten. Knowing that he may be escorting the man into his own trap, he questioned Pym about the bite. Before he could act though, Giant Man grows in size and knocks out the Black Panther. When he regains consciousness, he's missing the majority of his right arm, and he noticed that his leg was almost completely missing. He then saw the head of the Wasp still animated somehow, so he pleaded with the Wasp to help him get out. He then rigged together a crutch to walk his way out as he carried the severed head of the Wasp to his escape. In at number 4, Deadpool. No one knows when the merc with the mouth got bit. However, when he did, we got to see a brutal attack on the unsuspecting Silver Surfer. And after being attacked by Wundar the Aquarian, he was now reduced to just his head. Yet somehow he still managed to escape the armor headquarters. He then used the headquarters teleportation device to reach the bottom of the sea, where he then went on to infect all of the menfish. In at number 3, Iron Man. As one of the Avengers, he too was at the mansion during the intruder's entry that prompted the team to scope out the reports of citizens being attacked. However, Stark was one of the few that actually stayed back at the Avengers mansion. Then getting the call from Nick Fury, he hurried to the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier to show Nick about a new teleportation device that he was working on. He explained that if they could somehow get the device into another dimension, they could teleport themselves out of this reality entirely. And at that moment though, the now zombified Fantastic Four charged into the lab, attacking Tony while he was without his Iron Man armor. In at number 2, Spider-Man. While the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man was swinging through the streets of New York, he spotted the Avengers fighting with Ash Williams, who was holding not just a shotgun, but a chainsaw and a shotgun. As he swung in to lend some assistance, Colonel America asked Spidey to wrap Ash up in webs and take him out of the situation. He did just that, except while swinging with Ash, he began recounting to Spider-Man about his incredible journey from the gates of heaven. That's when Peter noticed Sentry infecting the Avengers, and before he could escape, he too was bitten. Lastly, in our number 1 spot, Giant Man. At one point or another, poor Hank Pym was zombified by his own wife, Janet Van Dyne. Quickly realizing that he was now transforming into this inevitable human flesh-hungry state, he lured Black Panther to his lap, and after T'Challa confronted him like I mentioned before, he knocked him out and secured him to a workbench. Pym then traveled to the Avengers mansion to find the team chewing on the body of Jarvis, and when he met up with Beast and Reed Richards, they had found some large stash of meat, except for some reason Hank decided to show up in his Yellow Jacket costume. I don't know why. But when he returned to New York, he slowly began cutting off the Black Panther's limbs to feed and control himself. Seems like a lack of control to me.
And a 10, Deadpool. Little is known about Deadpool's life before the zombie plague arrived on Earth 2149. At some point though, he was infected and he attacked the Silver Surfer. He most likely fled the attack but also escaped the power cosmic zombies from getting himself incinerated and killed. He later was transported from Earth 2149 to Earth 616, calling himself the Merc with half a mouth due to his lack of most of his jaw, and exhibiting a wide range of knowledge. However, he was torn apart by some blades after Kale put some tricky maneuvers, resulting in Deadpool now reduced to only a head and being contained within armor. He managed to escape from armor headquarters with the help of Simon Garth by using the base teleporters to escape to the bottom of the sea, where Deadpool's head infected all of the menfish. Garth was compelled to travel to the island nation of Tiano in the Caribbean Sea, where he told Black Talon about the zombie plague. But like, look, normal Deadpool is bloodthirsty enough, but a zombie version that gets reduced to only a head and then still keeps going, that's freaking nuts. I'm also gonna not try to hold back my swears because it's Deadpool. It's fucking Deadpool. So sorry, editor, who has to deal with this.
No, it's fine. Fine.
And at 9, Dead Man Wade. Obsessed with feeling pain, Dead Man Wade Wilson became one of Apocalypse's Pale Riders, a team formed by Apocalypse's chief assassins. His teammate Danielle Moonstar took great pleasure in inflicting pain upon him, pretty kinky. But when Apocalypse learned that Nightcrawler was seeking out Avalon, he sent Wade and the other Pale Riders to follow him and destroy the refuge. Along the way, Danielle's torture of Wade annoyed their teammate Damask to the point where she strangled Moonstar to death. Watching that woman get killed unnerved Wayne even further. However, this version of Wade is also in constant pain, and even though he is in constant pain, his healing factor keeps him alive, meaning that he will never truly be freed. That is until Nightcrawler teleports his head off of his body, resulting in Wade dying despite being able to regrow limbs to a much easier extent than his 616 version. But hey, what am I gonna do? It's comics. And at 8, Dreadpool. In the reality of Earth 12101, the X-Men brought Deadpool to Dr. Benjamin Brighton in an attempt to cure him of his insanity. Unbeknownst to the X-Men, however, Brighton had in actuality been brainwashing his patients to do his bidding as opposed to curing them. Brighton's treatment failed to brainwash Deadpool and instead destroyed his inner voices, replacing them with a single voice that knew the entire universe was just a lie and encouraged him to kill non-stop. He then killed Dr. Brighton by smashing him into a release form after stating all the form needed was Brighton's stamp of approval. And by stamp he meant his blood. He then killed everyone in the asylum and then blew up the building. In order to end it all, he began killing the rest of the heroes of the world, and he started by going after the Fantastic Four, killing Reed Richards and the Thing first, then proceeding to kill the Human Torch. But Susan Storm caught up to him and blew his head off with a force field. But while she was grieving over the death of her family, Deadpool regenerated his head and killed her. Because of course he did. This version is a maniac, and honestly, I'm here for it. And at 7, Dogpool. Dogpool was once a dog known as Wilson, who was used as an animal test subject for Mascara X, which was intended to be a mascara that continually replenished itself after only one application. Instead, Mascara X disfigured Wilson and gave him the ability to heal from any wound. The lab owners didn't realize that he'd acquired this ability and tossed him in a dumpster. Wilson tore free of the trash bag and wandered around, rejected by all those who saw him, until he threw himself in front of a car. A circus truck saw it happen and stopped for him, and immediately recognized the potential in his regenerative abilities, and he became the circus's starring act. He went from being exploited by makeup companies to exploited by the circus. The death-defying hound, Deadpool. He worked in the circus until the Deadpool of Earth 616 showed up and recruited him for the Deadpool Corps. But a goddamn dog version of Deadpool? Hell yeah, that's horrifying. It's a fucking dog that enjoys killing people from what I saw. And he can't die. Like what the hell do you think? It's gonna be cute? And at 6, Galactipool. Galactipool is a member of the evil Deadpool Corps. He is seen to attack the remaining Deadpool Corps and their allies after they defeat the evil Deadpool Corps that was originally sent to kill them. But he's taken out when Lady Deadpool deliberately crashes the B. Arthur into his head. But let's be honest. Even if he did die, a combination of Galactus and Deadpool is certainly a terrifying concept. Like, if we talk about it, I feel like it's still giving this guy too much power. Like, what sounds even the slightest bit okay about this version of Deadpool? The only reason he isn't higher on this list is because we didn't really get much of an opportunity to see his powers in action. But assuming he had all the powers of Galactus, this is probably the strongest version of Deadpool there is. But this isn't the list of the strongest alternate versions of Deadpool, it's scariest. And while this idea is scary with no real situations to back it up, we don't know if this is a truly scary version in practice. Halfway through, in at number 5, Wolverine Pool. Wade Wilson from Earth TRN 1946 was bonded with adamantium to his skeleton by Weapons Plus, their version of the Weapon X program. He was later recruited by Deadpool for his army. He killed Deadpool Pulp before the arrival of Galactipool. He was attacked by Deadpool with a grenade from which bugs came out of and then ate all of his flesh, leaving behind only a skeleton and claws, which is horrifying. His powers are seemingly the same as Earth 616 Wolverine, but like with Deadpool's body. So, I mean, okay, it's weird because he looks like Deadpool, but he is also Wolverine. It's f***ing weird, okay? Wolverine Pool's healing factor, though, is most likely weaker than the 616 version of either Wolverine or Deadpool's healing factor, which makes him less dangerous, but come on. A combination of Wolverine and Deadpool is something that we should all fear, and most likely do fear. I'm surprised Deadpool didn't make this a thing at the end of Deadpool 2, though, when he was correcting everything that he did wrong, including the Green Lantern movie, which was actually Ryan Reynolds, but hey. And at 4, Evil Deadpool. The origins of the being known as Evil Deadpool are actually tied to Ella Whitby, a British psychiatrist obsessed with this superhuman mercenary Deadpool. She collected numerous parts of Deadpool's body that he had lost over the years and kept them in her freezer. When Deadpool found them, though, he threw them in a dumpster in disgust, which is weird because, I mean, you're Deadpool, why are you disgusted? It's your own body, but whatever. The parts eventually thawed out, and since it still had Deadpool's healing factor, they all decided to fuse together into a single person. Evil Deadpool hijacked the private plane of an American businessman and traveled to the United States around the same time the original Deadpool did. And the two crossed paths for the first time after the Evil Deadpool blew up Deadpool's favorite chimichanga joint, and they fought until they ran out of bullets. Both Deadpools agreed for a second round at Canarsie Park, though. Their second explosive encounter caught the attention of Captain America, who arrived to the scene after Evil Deadpool had escaped. But yeah, he's the whole reason for like the whole Deadpool core, so pretty fucking scary dude. Getting close to the end, and at number 3, Death Mask. After a revolutionary procedure performed by Reed Richards removed a lethal brain tumor, Wade Wilson became a super genius and used his newfound intellect to erect a criminal empire. Wade began wearing armor styled after Dr. Doom and went by Death Mask. After killing Death Wish, which was Victor Von Doom, who was the Deadpool of this reality, that the Deadpool of the mainstream continuity was actually quite fond of, Death Mask decided to take down his alter ego. After being defeated, Death Mask made a contract with Mephisto to unleash monsters to Earth, including the demon Infernal Hulk. Not to mention that he has the powers of Deadpool and Dr. Doom, with an even cooler color scheme than the original Dr. Doom. But ultimately, in at number 2, Venom Pool. Venom Pool is an alternate reality version of Deadpool from Earth 90211. He is the combination of Deadpool and the Venom symbiote. Being a part of Earth 90211, he is part of the reality Beyonder loves partying in. A reality that's perpetually stuck in the 1980s in many regards, much like my father. Venom Pool is the Beyonder's go-to party animal, until the party gets boring for the Beyonder. But Deadpool was actually originally meant to kill Beyonder before discovering how much he liked the partying lifestyle. And once Spider-Man showed up demanding that the Beyonder remove the symbiote, this is when Deadpool becomes Venom Pool. He's later seen in one of the evil Deadpool Corps, and he is presumably killed shortly after this point, but we still don't know. His appearance changed rather drastically in the time between What If Venom possessed Deadpool number 1 and Deadpool kills Deadpool number 2. In his initial appearance, Venom Pool looked like he was a cross between Venom, Deadpool, and Rick James, and in his recent appearances, he looks like Deadpool but with like a Venom mouth and more ripped. And finally, in at number 1, Poison Deadpool. The Poisons are a species of crystalline extraterrestrials spawned by the Poison Queen, originating on Earth 17952. The Poisons spent an unknown amount of time as prey for larger, stronger creatures before discovering that they could assimilate symbiotes and their hosts to become more powerful. While hunting the Venom symbiote, they were discovered by an incarnation of Doctor Strange, who bonded to the symbiote and proceeded to recruit an army of venomized superheroes, anti-heroes, and supervillains from across the multiverse to stop the poisons. However, the poisons saw this as an opportunity to swell their ranks, and most of these recruits were either killed or assimilated. When Venompool was summoned to the Earth dealing with these poisons, he ended up willingly surrendering himself to a group of poisons, thinking that the host's original personas were not completely extinguished, and banking on his insanity, granting him additional resistance to this process. This theory was proven correct though, as though his body was consumed to create Poison Deadpool, his mind remained intact, and he was able to suppress that of the poison that had consumed him. So while Deadpool was uncertain how long he could suppress the poison's psyche, he helped the resistance infiltrate the poison's lair, which I mean has gotta be one of the most Deadpool things that you could fucking do. Like, I'm super overpowered with the symbiote, so I'm going to willingly give myself over to these things that could potentially take over my mind, but I don't fucking care, cause I'm gonna be even more powerful, and then if I am crazy enough to just not have to deal with it, then I'm just gonna help the good guys, cause I don't fucking care. Jesus.
Number 10. Earth Z Thanos. Earth Z Thanos is a version of the villainous character that was infected by the zombie virus that turned everyone else on Earth 2149 into zombies. Thanos included, of course. Thanos initially is a formidable foe, despite not yet acquiring the Infinity Gauntlet in this reality and piecing it together. Still, Thanos was already in this universe attempting to invade Earth before becoming a zombie. He ends up meeting with the zombie Galacti, who possess the powers of Galactus, shared among them, having the power cosmic. When this version of Thanos accuses the Hulk of eating more than his counterparts, Hulk squashes Thanos' head, ending his undead life. In removing Thanos from the equation, Hulk then claims he now can reasonably eat for the two of them without issue, since Thanos' share will of course be going untouched. And friends, before we move on to our next spot here, if you love what we do here at the channel, why not show us you love us by hitting that subscribe button? It really does help us out 100%. Number 9. Gotham. Remember Gotham and Gotham Girl? I do. They were the siblings that were saved by Batman when they were young and were as such inspired to also become heroes. They ended up getting superpowers and everything, but then Henry Jr., known as the hero Gotham, ended up losing control and being driven into an unstoppable rage. In the end, he had to be taken out by his sister Claire, but also strangely, this wasn't the end for Gotham. No, 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 no. Instead, multiple people would attempt to revive him over the years, eventually turning him into a zombie who at one point thought he was Bane. That was the thing that happened. We thought he was Bane too, until we learned otherwise. Gotham as a hero and as a villain had insane powers, but they came at a high cost, that being his life force energy. Every time he used his powers, it basically brought him closer to death. Until of course, he was undead. During that time, his powers were basically limitless because, you know, he didn't have to worry about getting closer to death. He was already dead. However, once Henry had his mind fully restored and was given the option of fully being returned to life, fully resurrected, he decided to opt for death instead. He would eventually die permanently, at least, you know, for now, until somebody revives him. Refusing a resurrection level dose, the amount of the Lazarus resin he had taken was only able to keep him animated for a few days before he finally passed on. We'll see how final that finally ends up being, of course. Number 8. Marvel Zombies Scarlet Witch. Marvel Zombies Scarlet Witch is probably one of the most terrifying undead villains that I personally can think of. She appeared in the Marvel Zombies What If episode, where it was revealed that Vision was luring survivors into his domain to feed her to keep his love alive, after being unable to cure her. This version of Wanda also still fully possessed her powers. While Wanda isn't always a villain or antagonist in the comics or MCU, she definitely was in this episode. She was powerful enough to take on the Hulk, and later still powerful enough for a corrupted Doctor Strange to think she might stand a chance against Ultron, or at least serve as a distraction for as long as she was alive. Sadly, of course, Ultron was powerful enough to defeat Wanda. He solved this problem by completely destroying the world that they were fighting on, although I have heard she's gonna make a return in the Marvel Zombies show, so not dead yet. Potentially. Number 7. Solomon Grundy. Epitomizing what this list is really all about in regards to the term undead is Solomon Grundy. This is a villain who is destined to die and return again and again and again. Solomon Grundy's real name is Cyrus Gold, and he is often characterized as being a mindless zombie, though I gotta say, I enjoy when he's being depicted as, you know, smarter than you might think, like his portrayal in the earlier issues of the current Harley Quinn series that started back in 2021. Solomon Grundy is often a villain who hangs around Gotham Gotham and as such falls in the category of being a Batman villain most often. While Solomon Grundy might not be the most powerful Batman villain out there, he's pretty much undefeatable, at least when it comes to his overarching defeat, as you know, he can't die. So he's much more resilient than many other adversaries Batman and his family have come up against. Number 6. Franklin Richards. Though really, he wasn't Franklin anymore in this reality. While Franklin Richards is known as a hero in the comics and the son of the Fantastic Four couple Susan Storm and Reed Richards in the reality of Earth 616, in the Cancerverse he became known instead as the host of the Many-Angled Ones, although originally he was also all those other things. These were the beings that were able to coerce the hero Mar-Vell into a way to cure his cancer by killing death, allowing life to reign wild and free. However, that turned out to not be as good as it sounded, and the Many-Angled Ones were able to come across into the universe, invading and taking Franklin Richards as a host for multiple of their eldritch entities. Hence why here we could see him as a villain, although, you know, it's not really him anymore, he's kind of just a bunch of eldritch entities together. Number 5. Black Hand. Black Hand is known for being the avatar of Necron, basically becoming an agent of death as a Black Lantern and Necron's right-hand man. Literally too, since I believe it is Black Hand's right hand that is black, which in a version of the story is gifted to him by Necron and basically gives him like death touch powers. Black Hand was dying to join the Black Lanterns, but literally he was. He died to join them. In fact, in order to become a Black Lantern, you had to have died at some point, and it was in this way, after taking his own life, the Black Hand was able to join up. As he is already dead but reanimated, that makes him an undead villain, and considering he was part of the charge with the other Black Lanterns being the main person to lead that charge, you know, aside from Necron, I think we can consider him to be in general fairly unstoppable. I mean, he did get stopped, but it took a lot to stop him, so you know. Number 4. Gore the God Butcher. Gore is an interesting one. While in Love and Thunder he was defeated and lay dying by the end of this film, and in the comic he is defeated and killed kinda as well, when we look forward into what's considered to be, well, I think now an alternate future, it's revealed that he actually can't really be killed. At least not in the way you think. This is because of the bond that Gore made with the symbiote known as the All Black, both a Necro Sword and the very first symbiote to ever have existed, created by the god of symbiotes himself, the former King in Black, Null. Years into the future, it is revealed that Gore managed to survive thanks to the All Black, and he does end up returning. In the end, King Thor is required to basically strip Gore of the symbiote in order to defeat him. This is also no easy feat, as the level at which Gore and the All Black are entwined is pretty deep at that point. Similar to how connected Cletus Cassidy and Carnage are, like we're talking on like molecular levels. Number 3. Deceased Darkseid. Darkseid is one of the most fearsome villains over at DC Comics, so oh boy, wait till you see what he's like when he becomes undead. Just like in the main continuity, Darkseid in the Deceased universe also remains obsessed with the anti-life equation. He is also still a new god and the ruler of Apocalypse. At one point he attacks Earth, seemingly attempting to conquer it, but in reality he had an ulterior motive. His goal was actually to take Cyborg and implant him with a version of the equation that would use his body to spread the virus digitally to the rest of the world. Even though this part of his plan succeeded, his attempt to spread the virus backfired somewhat, with Darkseid himself becoming infected. Ugh. Driven mad once he became a member of the Anti-Living, Darkseid dove deep into the inferno at the center of Apocalypse, causing it to explode. This was believed to have killed him, but it was later revealed that he'd been alive the whole time, trapped inside the frozen planet. Once the frozen ball that was once Apocalypse was smashed, or cracked really, that allowed Darkseid to break free and allowed him to continue his reign of terror. Number 2. Marvel Zombies Thanos. Marvel Zombies Thanos comes from the Marvel Cinematic Multiverse. He is hinted as being a major antagonist for our survivors in the animated spin-off series Marvel Zombies. He is hinted at being a major antagonist for our survivors in the animated Marvel Zombies universe, which we briefly only saw a glimpse into during What If. Marvel Zombies is said to be a spin-off show which will continue this story. In this reality, Thanos has already acquired almost all of the Infinity Stones, almost fully forming the Infinity Gauntlet. He currently happens to be in the Golden City in Wakanda, which is kind of where our surviving heroes are reportedly heading, at least as far as we know right now. I imagine this version of Thanos will be even more fearsome than his comic book zombie counterpart. Number 1. Necron. Necron is probably one of the most famous undead villains in the DC universe. This is because of his tie to the Blackest Night event, an event that not only threatened all life on Earth, but all life in the cosmos as well. It was revealed by the end of the event that Necron's goal was to rule over the universe by destroying the White Lantern entity. Doing so, it turns out, would allow Necron to destroy all life in the universe. Now, fortunately, Necron's plan is foiled and his ties to the physical world end up being severed, but the challenging thing about Necron is that you can never really kill him permanently since he isn't alive to begin with. Necron himself, when seemingly killed or defeated, will simply return to the land of the unliving. There he can bide his time and plan until he is ready to return again, which is likely what he's doing right now.